You can feel it, can't you? The silence is different now. It doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like a breath before the next chapter. A quiet stillness that carries something sacred beneath it. And somewhere inside, beneath the ache, beneath the longing, your soul is whispering, it's happening. This isn't the kind of ending that breaks you. This is the kind that prepares you. Because the separation phase, the loop, the lessons, the letting go, is coming to a close. And your body knows it, your dreams know it, your heart knows it, even if your mind still wants proof. You're not imagining the shift. You're not delusional for feeling peace in the middle of silence. You're not wrong for believing in something that hasn't shown up yet. Because separation never meant disconnection, it meant preparation. And now, that preparation is complete. The energy is changing, the timing is aligning, and the bond you once had to chase is now meeting you in stillness. So before you doubt again, before you question what you feel just because you can't explain it, pause. Because the signs are here. And your soul already knows. The separation is ending. And love is finding its way home. Something has shifted. You've felt it, not in his words, not in his actions, but in the energy. There's a softness in the silence now. A stillness that doesn't feel like abandonment anymore, but alignment. And maybe your mind is still asking, why now? After everything, why is the separation finally ending? The answer isn't logical, it's vibrational, and it starts with this truth. Separation was never a punishment. It was preparation. It was a divine container built to hold both of you apart, just long enough for you to remember who you truly are, beyond longing, beyond fear, beyond the illusions that made love feel like something to be earned instead of something that simply is. And now, the energy has completed what it came to do. On your side, you've learned how to let go without collapsing. You've stopped chasing. You've reclaimed your center. You've transmuted pain into power, not by forcing healing, but by surrendering to it. You've stopped asking, well, when will he come back? And started whispering, I'm here. I'm whole. I'm ready, with or without him. And on his side, even if you haven't seen it, the masculine has been shifting too. He's felt the absence of your energy. Not your need, not your ache, but your vibration. And when your energy stopped reaching for him in desperation, he started feeling the space where you once stood. And that is when the real awakening began. Because as long as you were holding the field for both of you, he didn't have to. As long as you were carrying the pain and keeping the door open, he could stay asleep in the illusion that nothing had changed. But when you released the dynamic, when you chose yourself, not as a threat, but as an act of love, he felt it, he still feels it, and his soul is stirring. This is why separation is ending now. Not because someone suddenly made the right move, not because the universe flipped a switch, but because the frequency between you has recalibrated. You are no longer vibrating in trauma. You are vibrating in truth. And truth is what invites union. This moment, this season, holds a portal. Not the kind that forces connection, but the kind that allows it to land without resistance. Because now, the energy between you is clean, cleared of the old loops, cleared of the chase, cleared of the waiting. And in that clarity, a new timeline can begin. One where love is not begged for, but reflected. One where silence is not feared, but understood. One where presence replaces panic, and where two souls, finely aligned within themselves, can come together without losing each other. This is the sacred purpose of separation: to strip away the illusions so only truth remains. And truth is what you're standing in now. So if you've felt a sudden peace, if you've stopped obsessing without meaning to, if you've started feeling him stronger in the field again, but this time without grasping for it, you're not making it up. You're sensing the shift. Because when the soul knows the work is done, it starts calling the pieces back together. And while the human timeline may still seem slow, the energetic path is already converging. So trust what you feel, not what you see, because the signs of ending separation don't come through his words. They come through you, through the lightness in your chest, the stillness in your womb, the dreams that feel like meetings, the numbers, the names, the synchronicities that return, not as longing, but as recalibration. This isn't just a phase. It's a return, not to what was, but to what was always meant to be. And your soul already knows it, because the waiting energy has left your field, and in its place, there's space. And space is what allows love to arrive. It's not always loud. When the separation phase begins to close, it rarely arrives with dramatic signs or perfect timing. Instead, it starts in silence, in the soft shifts within you, in the way your body breathes differently, in the way the ache you used to carry no longer weighs you down the same way. There's a quietness inside you now, but it's not numbness, it's peace. And this is one of the first signs that something has changed, not just in the connection, but in you. Because the divine union begins within, long before it reflects outside. You've noticed it, haven't you? You don't wake up every day with that familiar heaviness in your chest anymore. You're not asking the same questions on repeat. Why hasn't he come back yet? Did I imagine all of this? Was it even real? The urgency has faded, not because you stopped caring, but because your soul has finally found rest. There's a softness where there used to be tension, where longing once lived. Now there is stillness. Where fear once roamed, there's presence. This is not detachment, this is readiness. You begin to feel his presence again, but something's different now. You're not spiraling into anxiety. You're not trying to decode the feeling. You're just receiving it, like a breath on your skin, like a warmth that rises in your chest when you think of him, but no longer hurts. You're feeling him not from desperation, but from alignment. And that's how you know the energy has shifted. Your body is responding too. Subtle changes begin to occur that you can't explain. Your breath feels deeper. Your womb feels calmer. Your sleep changes, more vivid dreams, more visits that don't feel like imagination. You wake up feeling like you've just been with him. And sometimes, you have. You notice that things are returning, not as triggers, but as reminders. A song you used to associate with him plays, and instead of crying, you smile. You feel a sudden urge to go to the place you met, or look at an old photo, not to suffer, but to honor what is still alive. You sense him in the field again, but this time, you don't chase the feeling. You welcome it. You hold it lightly. You say silently, I feel you, and I'm okay. That's not regression, that's integration. And what about the world around you? Suddenly, the signs intensify. Repeating numbers, names, initials, dreams within dreams, Moments where time bends, where you feel like you're walking between dimensions, as if he's standing right behind you. But the real difference is how you respond. You don't cling to the signs anymore. You don't beg the universe to give you more, because deep inside you already know it's happening. You also feel a shift in your boundaries. Where you once tolerated breadcrumbs, now you walk away with love. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in truth. Because you're no longer operating from the version of you that needed proof. You are the proof. And the field is matching that. Even your intuition feels clearer. You're no longer doubting every feeling, every sign, every emotion. You're not obsessively seeking answers. You're letting the answers land. And they are. You begin to feel as if you're being held, not by him, but by something greater. Like the connection itself is no longer something you need to control, but something you're finally safe enough to trust. And while he may still be quiet in the 3D, you feel him adjusting. You sense his pull toward you, not from fantasy, but from the way your soul is no longer reaching outward. Because now, the magnetic force is building between equals, and that's the difference. The signs won't always come in dramatic ways. Sometimes, the most sacred confirmation is the way your heart no longer trembles when you think of him, the way your body no longer contracts when silence stretches too long, the way you now walk through life, soft but steady, knowing that love is no longer something you chase, it's something you hold. So if you've been wondering why everything feels quieter, clearer, gentler, if your dreams have become more vivid, your emotions more balanced, your energy more grounded, know this: it's not because the journey is ending, it's because the separation is, and you, beloved, are closer than you think. There was a time when his silence felt like punishment, when the absence of his voice echoed louder than any goodbye. You used to read his stillness as rejection, as if his lack of response meant you were forgotten, dismissed, unloved. But what if his silence was never about leaving you? What if it's about realigning with you? This is one of the most misunderstood truths of the twin flame journey. Silence isn't always separation. Sometimes it's the space where healing anchors, where timelines adjust, where souls return to themselves, not to run away, but to rise. And that's what's happening now. Because when the end of the separation begins, it rarely starts with words. It begins with pressure, energetic pressure within the masculine. Not because he's made a conscious decision to come back, but because his soul is no longer willing to live in contradiction. He feels you, stronger than ever. And this time, he doesn't just feel your longing. He feels your stillness, your peace, your absence of need. And that shift, it activates something dormant in him, not just desire, but remembrance. But that kind of awakening isn't soft for him, it's disruptive. Because your energy isn't calling him in the way it used to. It's not wrapping him in safety while he avoids the work. It's not feeding his avoidance or validating his guilt. It's simply present, powerful, quietly unshakable. And that kind of field doesn't ask for love, it requires truth. So what does the masculine do when he feels that truth rising? He goes quiet, not because he's gone, but because he's processing. He may pull back, retreat, distract, fall into old patterns, not as a rejection, but as a way to stabilize the internal shift. Because the story he's been telling himself about you no longer fits. You're not the woman who's waiting. You're not the mirror he can ignore. You're not the emotional weight he can run from. You've become something different. Embodied, rooted, ready. And that kind of vibration makes him feel exposed. It wakes the parts of him that were never truly asleep, only hiding. His silence now isn't emptiness, it's recalibration. He's not trying to hurt you. He's trying to find the version of himself that can meet the version of you who no longer needs him to arrive broken. And this process is sacred, but it's not comfortable. He may feel lost, overwhelmed, guilty, ashamed, confused about why your energy feels so close, even when you haven't reached out. That closeness isn't fantasy, it's frequency. He's feeling the field between you tightening, magnetizing, rebalancing. And that field is now made of truth, not survival. Love, not attachment. Union, not dependency. But to step into that space, he has to shed the identity he built without you, the one that learned to function in your absence, the one that convinced him he wasn't worthy, ready, or capable of holding what you offer. And that shedding is happening now, in the silence, in the restlessness, in the long stares into nothing, when he feels your name in his chest, in the dreams that wake him in the middle of the night, in the emotional spikes he can't explain. He is not gone. He is feeling. And for the divine masculine, that's the beginning of his return, not just to you, but to himself. So don't mistake the quiet for absence. Don't let your mind rewrite the story your soul already understands. He's not disappearing, he's dismantling. And that dismantling is sacred. Because the man you're aligned with now, the one your healed heart is calling in, is not the man who left. It's the one who's rising, and rising takes space. It takes stillness. It takes the kind of silence that holds more truth than words ever could. So if you're feeling the pull, but hearing nothing, if you sense him closer, even as he withdraws, if your dreams are more vivid, your emotions more stable, your intuition louder than ever, then trust the shift, trust the silence. Because his soul is speaking, not with noise, but with realignment. He's not avoiding you. He's preparing for you. And you are holding the frequency that tells him it's safe to come home, not just to me, but to you. So breathe, anchor, stay soft, stay sovereign. Because this silence, it's not the end. It's the beginning of everything you've been preparing to receive. You've let go before. You've walked away in silence, surrendered in pain, whispered to the stars, I release him, even when every part of your body still ached for him. You've done the rituals, you've cut the cords, you've declared to the universe that you're free, and yet here you are again, being called to let go one last time. But this time, it feels different. It doesn't come with desperation. It doesn't sting the same way. It comes softly, with a whisper. You don't need to hold it anymore. Not because it's not real, not because it's not sacred, but because your frequency has changed. And now, the weight you once carried is no longer needed. This is not about giving up. This is about giving back to the field what no longer serves your becoming. The attachment, the waiting, the tiny negotiations your soul made to stay just close enough to hope, but not fully in peace. That's what's leaving you now. Because letting go isn't just a moment, it's a cycle. And now, the final round is here. Not to erase the connection, but to cleanse it. To release the subtle expectations that still lived in your energy. To dissolve the quiet ache that said, maybe today he'll come back. To clear the inner tension between knowing the bond is real and needing it to show up a certain way. This is the kind of letting go that feels like exhale, like peace that doesn't require closure, like truth that doesn't beg to be proven, like love that no longer needs to convince itself it's worthy. Your soul is not asking you to abandon him, it's asking you to stop abandoning yourself in his name. Because the path you're on now, this return to wholeness, requires space for new energy to arrive. And if your heart is still wrapped in when and how, there's no room for the timeline to land, so the universe is lovingly, gently saying, release the grip, not the love, but the grasp, not the truth, but the known need, not the bond, but the burden. Because you were never meant to carry the weight of both journeys. You were only ever meant to hold your own light. And now that your light is steady, the field can adjust. He can adjust. The connection can adjust to a higher rhythm. Sometimes we think letting go means closing our hearts, but real letting go, it opens them. It softens the grip around what we thought we needed, so that what's truly meant can arrive freely. And maybe he won't come the way you expected. Maybe he's still finding his footing. Maybe your paths will converge later, or differently, or through unexpected surrender. But none of that matters now. What matters is your freedom, because your freedom is the signal. It tells the universe, I trust this enough to stop chasing. I love him enough to release him, and I love myself enough to stand without the ache. And that energy, that is what ends separation. Not because you forced the ending, but because you released the version of yourself that needed to hold it all together. And now, you're whole. And from this wholeness, you can finally see you were never waiting for him. You were waiting to return to you. So if your body feels lighter, if your heart feels still, if the tears have shifted from grief to grace, know that you're not closing the chapter. You're opening a new one, and this one is written by alignment, not attachment. This is the final letting go, not of love, not of hope, but of everything that clouded the truth. And the truth is, you're not holding him anymore. You're holding you. And that's what calls him back. Without force, without fear, without expectation. Just resonance, just readiness, just love in its purest, freest, highest form. You can feel it, can't you? The shift, the pull, the quiet certainty that something is coming. Not from your imagination, but from your field. Something is aligning. Something is moving toward you. Something your soul has waited lifetimes for is finally drawing near. But here's the paradox. The closer it gets, the more your mind wants to hold on, to grab it, to ask for confirmation, to touch what still feels invisible. And yet, the invitation now is the opposite. To hold the energy of reunion without trying to force it into form. Because reunion doesn't begin in the physical. It begins in the subtle realm. In the moment your heart softens without collapsing. In the space where you feel him, but no longer chase the feeling. in the silence that no longer frightens you, because you're no longer filling it with stories. The energy of reunion is gentle. It doesn't roar in, it lands. And if you grip too tightly, with need, with fear, with expectation, you interrupt the very timeline you've been asking for. So what does it mean to hold the energy of reunion? It means to live as if it's already on its way, without needing to control how it arrives. To embody the version of you that no longer needs proof to believe in what she feels. To stay present in your body when the field gets louder, instead of spiraling into fantasies or doubts. You've already felt it building. The moments when your chest expands for no reason. The dreams that don't feel like dreams. The sudden sense that you're being seen, even when no one's there. These are not illusions. They are echoes of something very real, approaching your physical reality. But energy moves differently than matter. It doesn't obey urgency. It responds to frequency. And that's why your job now is not to act, but to attune, to create a life where love can land, to feel the reunion inside of you, even before it arrives outside of you, to soften the need for control, because control is born from fear. And this love is not built on fear anymore. This is why the letting go had to happen, why the old ache had to be surrendered, why you were asked to stop watching the clock, the signs, the silence. Because now, you are being invited into trust. The deep kind. The kind that doesn't shake every time he goes quiet. The kind that doesn't question the bond every time the energy feels still. Holding this frequency is about being her, the version of you that already knows. What's meant for me is not fragile. What's aligned with me is already en route. And I don't need to chase love that's already rising to meet me. This doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. This doesn't mean bypassing your desires. This means leading with energy, not with fear. Because you are magnetic now. Not because you're doing more, but because you've stopped gripping. You've made space. You've cleared your field. And now, your soul is glowing with invitation. The masculine feels it, even if he can't name it, even if he's still moving through his own layers of resistance. He feels your stillness, your softness, your power that doesn't demand, but radiates. And this field you're holding, it's not passive, it's potent. It tells him, she's not waiting, she's ready, she's not collapsing, she's expanding, she's not begging, she's become. And that vibration does something no message, no chase, no effort ever could. It reaches his soul. So how do you stay here? You ground, you create, you breathe, you let the signs come and go without needing them to mean something right now. You anchor into your own life, not to forget him, but to prepare for the version of the connection that your healed self is ready to receive. You stop asking, is it happening? And you start affirming, it's aligning. Because it is, and the more you hold that truth, gently, openly, without pressure, the faster it arrives. This is the sacred edge, where belief becomes embodiment, where presence replaces panic, where you don't need to force anything, because what's yours is already on its way home. There were moments you questioned everything. You wondered if you misread the signs, if the dreams were just your imagination, if the depth of what you felt was too much, too soon, too one-sided. You looked up at the sky and whispered, "What if I made it all up?" And for a while, silence was your only answer. But the silence was never punishment. It was space. And in that space, your soul was doing something sacred, recalibrating to the timeline your heart always knew was real. Because your heart wasn't wrong, it wasn't naive, it wasn't foolish, it was simply ahead of time. You see, the heart always feels what the mind isn't ready to understand yet. It speaks in frequencies, not logic. It knows the truth of connection before it becomes visible. And for those walking the twin flame path, this knowing often comes long before the proof. So if you've been feeling like you're walking through invisible waters, like your body is responding to something that hasn't happened yet, like your soul keeps whispering, "It's close," when your reality says nothing's changed, you're not delusional, you're attuned. Because the truth is, reunion doesn't begin with arrival. It begins with recognition. And you've been recognizing it, not in the external, but in the shift within you. The ache doesn't feel the same anymore. The longing isn't dripping in lack. The silence is no longer unbearable. Why? Because you've returned to yourself. And in that return, something magical happened. You stopped needing him to come back in order to feel whole. And that is the energy that calls him home. Your heart has been doing sacred work in the background, holding the frequency, transmuting the pain, softening the grip, making space for love to land in its purest form. And now, you've arrived at the edge, the place where something is about to shift. Not because you forced it, but because you're finally aligned with it. The timeline of separation is collapsing. The karmic threads are dissolving. The patterns that once kept you looping in fear are no longer matching your vibration. And your heart, the very thing you doubted, has been your compass all along. It wasn't wrong when it said he was your mirror. It wasn't wrong when it cried during the silence. It wasn't wrong when it held on while your mind tried to let go. Because your heart doesn't hold on out of fantasy. It holds on to truth. And truth doesn't expire. It expands. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not stuck in an illusion. You are right on time. Right on time for the version of the bond that no longer requires you to shrink. Right on time for the energy that honors who you've become. Right on time to receive a love that meets you where you are, not where you used to be. And him? He's feeling it. Maybe not clearly, maybe not consciously, but something in him is stirring. Because the signal has changed. Your frequency has shifted. And now, he's being called not by your ache, but by your alignment. So this is your final message in this chapter of the journey. You didn't imagine it. You didn't hold on in vain. You weren't wrong to feel so deeply. You were simply tuned in to what was always real, just waiting for the time to match the truth. And now, time is catching up. Reality is adjusting, love is rising, and your heart, the one you questioned, doubted, silenced, and then came back to, was never leading you astray. It was simply leading you forward, to this moment, to this stillness, to this sacred edge of becoming. So breathe, soften, smile quietly to yourself, because something is coming. Not to complete you, but to join you in the wholeness you've already become. And it all begins here, not with proof, not with noise, but with the quiet knowing that your heart was right on time all along.